Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for waiting. Welcome back to another Crypto.com live video AMA. I'm your host, Marina from Crypto.com. Today, we will be joined by Tom Tirman, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Parsiq. Parsiq is an automation platform similar to tools like Zapier or If This Then That, which serves as the glue between blockchain applications and real-world applications. They just launched their flagship product, Tsunami API, a few weeks ago. It's a really exciting time. Here to answer your questions and tell us more about Parsik and Tsunami API is Tom. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, Marina. Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. I know it's a busy, exciting time. How are you?
Good, good. As you said, busy times. We just launched our first big milestone product, and there's a lot more to do.
Amazing. Well, thank you to the community for sending in your questions. We've got a bunch to get through today, Tom. But before we roll into the more specific questions, could you start us off with just a self introduction and how you got to where you are today?
Of course. So my name is Tom. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Parsik. We started Parsik in 2018. Before that, I was in traditional banking and fintech. Got into crypto in 17. Started studying, learning more about blockchain technologies, and decided this is my opportunity. This is where I want to build in, and met my co-founders in 2018. We decided that the blockchain data and infrastructure niche is untapped, so that's when the idea of Parsiq came about. And now, almost 4 years later, it's been quite a journey. So
Go ahead, continue.
yeah, so maybe what I would mention at a high level. So what we've built with Parsiq is a full suite data network that connects Web3 and Web2. So it allows instant access to Web3 data and for it to being sent to Web2 applications, Web2 systems, decentralized legacy systems that work together with blockchains today.
Got it. So actually, that leads us to our first question, which is from Twitter user King Shaws. So, what exactly was the problem that Parsik was trying to solve? Was there no one doing this before you guys came around?
And so blockchain data is pretty much the backbone of Web3 applications, but it's also one of the biggest bottlenecks for developers building on Web3. And this is because blockchains are siloed, they're not connected to the rest of the world. And the data on the blockchains, it's enormous, and at times it's hard to access. Even though blockchains are public and sort of transparent, it's not enough to get to just raw data from there, but you also need to get relevant data. And poor data access leads to poor user experience in Web3. So, what are your options as someone who is building in Web3 or integrating any of your products with blockchains, with crypto, with Web3? So your options are like run nodes yourself, which is costly. It's very difficult. They crash all the time, and you still have to build all the software around them. You can use a node as a service from other service providers, but then you still have to deploy and maintain infrastructure. And while they are a proxy to the blockchains, you still have to figure out what that blockchain data means. And there really wasn't anything that would allow you to get instant access without any kind of friction to any blockchain data, whether it's data from the past, historical data, or things happening in real time, and uh, and be able to aggregate it in a way that's actually valuable, not just random data.
I see. All right, let's move on to the next question from Twitter user JezzaX3. Jezza was really struck by the slogan, the go-to backend for Web3 applications. Could you explain in a simple way how this phrase represents the idea of Parsik?
If you think about a Web3 application, you have the blockchain layer. So this is where whether you're building a decentralized exchange, NFT marketplace, any kind of Web3 application, you have the blockchain layer where the smart contracts are. And then you have the front end, the user-facing interface. And somehow the user must understand what's happening in the app, what's happening with his or her transactions, assets, and so on. And everything between those two layers, the UI and the smart contracts, is the backend. And we're positioning ourselves as the full suite backend for Web3 applications, which means that they just need to go to Parsik and set up all the data flows. Whatever is happening in their contracts with their transactions gets sent to the front end, to their servers, to show to the users.
Cool. So on your Twitter, it also says that, it was a quote from you, that everybody needs blockchain data. But who exactly is it that needs this blockchain data right now?
Well, we are mainly aiming for developers building in the space because, as I mentioned, you cannot have proper user experience without getting data from the blockchain. The users need to see what's happening with their assets, what's happening with their transactions, any kind of statistics like total value locked, APYs, ROIs need to be calculated, and you can get it all with a simple query from the Parsik API. So Web3 developers is the target audience, but you can also include researchers, analysts, traders, and so on, who want deeper insights into what's happening on chain.
I see. And we'll get to this in a little bit, but there's also a B2C component that you guys are working on later on down the line, right? Cool. Okay. Continuing on. So for the projects who need this blockchain data, what are like the common challenges that they face?
Right. Well, the common challenges is first of all, they need this data. They cannot have their application running without it. So their options are pretty limited in the sense that from the solutions available today, as I mentioned in one of the previous questions, the node as a service. Running your own nodes or even using hosted nodes, it's a big challenge because you don't. You cannot get relevant custom tailored data from there. You have to pick it out. You have to spend developer resource, time, money, everything. Instead of focusing on your product functionality, you do all that in-house, spend a lot of money and a huge amount of time to be able to set something up, which is not scalable. Usually these in-house built systems, these are not scalable when the application gets a lot more users, a lot more transactions. So scaling is an issue. What if the nodes crash? What if the new block stops syncing? We see this all the time. Like new blocks take 30 minutes or even days to sync. Some data types, parameters from the blockchain are missing, and so on and so forth. So these are the main challenges that developers building on Web3 face. And our approach is that we have built it in a way that where we host a pool of nodes. So it is the throughput, the scalability, and the speed is all maximized. So you instantly get any kind of fine-grained data. It's not just crypto asset transfers, but it's everything from logs and calls, smart contract events, every small fine-grained event which is happening, you can get it through our APIs and not worry about the data being lost or altered on the way.
Sounds like a really convenient solution for developers out there. Let's move on to talk about Parsik Network. So Parsik right now has transformed its core product. Can you tell us more about the Parsik Network?
So before Parsik Network, our initial product was real-time monitoring of blockchains with workflow automation functions. And this wasn't, while very useful, and we got over 100 companies and projects using it, uh, it didn't really solve all the data needs for some some players here in the market. And this is why we decided to build the Parsik network, which is like a one-stop shop to solve all your data needs without the need to look elsewhere. And the Parsik network means that we have, as I said, we run our own nodes of all the chains we support. We have our own software, traces, and trackers embedded into the nodes. So we see every small event that is happening in real time at scale. And we have indexed the histories of all these blockchains and put them in a database. So this means that using the Tsunami API, you can get not only now real-time data, but also historical data. You can go back in the past, even to the Genesis block, as far as you need to collect everything you need. So you will specify any parameters that you need, any filters, whether you're looking for Uniswap trades, certain liquidity pools, when someone adds liquidity or removes liquidity, anything really that's happening on the blockchain. You just and you can get it in seconds or in milliseconds, because our API can process over 6 million blocks in less than a second. And on top of that, when you've gotten all that data that you need from the blockchain, you can continue to monitor it in real time. In addition, we've implemented the data hubs, which are a storage layer. So all the data you pull or that you're getting continuously from the Parsik API, you can store on our side and use it to do calculations, to aggregate it, to calculate things like TVL or liquidity or anything else to then use on your front end or for any internal business needs. So it's a suite of products that involves historical data, real-time push-based data, and storage to mix that data and aggregate it.
Wow. I think you actually answered this question, but let's flash it up on screen. Twitter user G Quint asks, do you store the entire history of every supported chain from Genesis?
We do. So we have currently on the Tsunami API, we have 4 blockchains live, which is Ethereum, Polygon, BNB chain, and Avalanche. And it's well over 40 terabytes of data stored. And we have like billions and billions of data points there, like transactions, calls, logs, and so on. So we have all the histories. You can go as far back as you like, even to the deployment of that blockchain on mainnet.
Wow. How do you guys choose which chains that you're going to support?
Well, the idea is to support all the chains that have activity and adoption. So these 4 are just a start. We are already integrating the next batch, and we will continue to do so.
Cool. Hopefully Kronos will be on there soon. Okay, moving on. This is a Twitter question from that same person as the last one. If one were to query all history of the Ethereum chain from Genesis, how long will that take?
Well, that might take longer than milliseconds or seconds, of course. But compared to what we've tried, I don't have the exact amount of time. But compared to everything we've tried and the way we built the architecture and the databases, so from the ones that we've compared to, this is the fastest data querying solution on the market that we know of.
Wow. I guess someone will have to test it out and let us know. Okay, moving on to another Twitter question from Hapsy Womp. Can you give 1 or 2 specific examples of how data lakes can be used to improve a dApp or protocol?
So data lakes are dedicated APIs that that pull data from the Tsunami API, which is the main API. And what they do is they provide custom tailored data for specific use cases. So the first data lake we implemented was the NFT data lake. This allows anyone to get data about NFTs. Things like collections, holders, who are the holders of these collections, the history of ownership of certain NFTs, and even pull the actual metadata or the actual JPEGs from them. How Web3 applications use this is they use it as pretty much the backend. They get their own dedicated data lake for their specific application that they have built. They have the data hub for storage. Think about games. So we have a number of gaming clients right now. You're building on Tsunami, and we are helping them create data lakes. And a lot of gaming logic is actually off-chain. Some of it is on-chain. A lot of it is off-chain. So you need the data hubs to be able to aggregate data from both sides, from their smart contracts on the game, from their addresses, treasuries, minting contracts, and the off-chain logic. And the data hub is the place to do it. And then they can use it for their backend. So they can, first of all, they can use it to improve user experience, show the users what's going on with the assets, with the rewards, with the in-game NFTs, with the players, with the activity. And they can also use it internally, because a lot of these games have trouble, getting snapshots of the economic activity within their application, within their game. And this allows them to automate the whole process.
All right, moving on, we have a few more, I guess, hypotheticals. Twitter user Aurelius1313, how could an exchange benefit from Tsunami API, like Crypto.com, for example?
Well, there's a lot of ways, depending on the exact goals. We've had exchanges tested out for such use cases as monitoring the treasury wallets and governance contracts of the projects in their ecosystem to be notified of certain critical activity. We've had exchanges use it for things like getting real-time live data about deposits onto the exchange and feeding them into their APIs to further automate some internal processes. And of course, providing like on-chain insights, for example, large flows of certain assets moving and so on to their users is the third one. These are just a couple of examples, and there are much more.
Definitely. This was kind of a common question, was about how Parsik can help with fraud, but we have a Twitter question from iKingAmino7. Do you think Parsik can help with limiting usage of crypto in the black market?
Well, there are a lot of AML and compliance tools on the market, like Chainalysis, who are market leaders, and their benefit is that they label wallets, seek connections between wallets, and also keep a database of all the bad actors who are using crypto in the black market. So we don't do that. We focus on the infrastructure. But with that being said, because we offer real-time data about something happening on the blockchain, real time meaning that you can get this data even before the transaction is fully confirmed on the blockchain. So it's pretty much as fast as possible. And by using this, you can mitigate certain risks. So we've had instances where exchanges, smaller exchanges, were hacked, their hot wallets were compromised, and the Parsik technology has helped to mitigate this risk, because as soon as suspicious activity, the first transaction, unauthorized transaction, was done, they could take certain security precautions to secure the rest of the wallets. So it's sort of being able to mitigate risk at the earliest possible level. Parsik can help.
Kind of like an alarm system almost. Okay, continuing on, Twitter user at Maple212. How will the Tsunami API be useful for NFT companies?
Well, the same way as it's useful for anyone doing anything on Web3. So everyone needs data, and everyone needs to feed that data to their internal accounting finance systems, to their front end for users to see, to their statistics page to show. So everyone, it's the same use case. So if you're building an NFT marketplace and you can, through the NFT data lake, you can pull all the data, which NFT it is, what metadata it has. You can actually pull the JPEGs and store it in the data hubs and get it. Pretty much the whole backend can be on Parsiq. So you have to only build the smart contracts and the front end.
Got it. All right. Moving on. Who are Parsiq's partners now? Where is IQ protocol integrated?
Parsiq has a lot of partners. I think, I think we're totaling over 200 different companies and projects that we are working with or have worked with. So it's most recently, with the release of the Tsunami API, we had onboarded dozens of alpha testers and customers. Among them are Sin Futures, which is one of the biggest derivatives exchanges and the biggest one on Polygon. Beefy Finance, which is a DeFi protocol with over 300 million in TVL. And there are a lot more that are still testing and still onboarding. So we'll definitely announce the next 200 ones within the next year and a half.
Exciting. Okay, one more question from a Twitter user here. Linus Oda asks, non-crypto users are very important for mainstream adoption. How are you planning to attract non-crypto users toward your project? Is there any upcoming partnership that will entice and bring non-crypto users running towards the PRQ project?
Well, you could say that Parsiq is B2B2C. So what we do is we provide infrastructure to these projects, to these companies in Web3, and they use it to improve user experience to their end users. So we're looking forward to providing this same type of infrastructure to Web2 companies who are just now transitioning to Web3. So this way, we can actually help push forward the mass adoption, because as we know, non-crypto users do not like all these frictions of blockchains, MetaMask, transaction signing, and they want they want this all to be under the hood and not be involved in any of this. So we are happy to provide the data infrastructure needed to Web2 companies to be able to implement this and pull them into Web3.
Very much the glue connecting the two. All right, let's talk about the PRQ token. Can you tell us about the utilities?
Currently, it's an access token, so you can use the Parsiq services, certain Parsiq technology stacks for free if you hold a sufficient amount of PRQ tokens. And the more usage you need, the more you need to hold. Of course, we have clients who monitor millions of addresses. For them to have a huge amount of the Parsiq token on the balance sheet might not be viable. So we've also implemented a feature where you can rent the necessary amount of tokens for a time. You can rent them from a decentralized renting pool so that you don't have to necessarily buy them. And you rent them for a month or for a year to get access to the Parsiq network for that amount of time. And the community, the token holders, can actually provide liquidity into the rental pool where these companies rent from and earn yield. This is the current mechanic, but with the expansion of the data lakes, and we have a plan to also expand the Parsiq token utility. More details on that probably closer to launch.
Exciting. All right. So as what is effectively a software as a service company, Parsiq is predominantly B2B. So how are the PRQ tokens linked with Parsiq's success?
So the model that I described, so you can hold the tokens to get access to the services and software. It means that less tokens will be in circulation as people and companies and developers hold them to be able to use the Parsik network. A second one is that for those who do not want to buy the Parsik token and just want to pay a fee, just like a traditional subscription-based SaaS, they can rent the Parsik tokens for a month or for a year, just like a SaaS subscription. And so they will be renting from the pool of token holders where the holders have staked certain amounts of PRQ. And the more demand there is for Parsik services, the more demand there will be for the token. So it sort of creates like a circular economy. And this will be heavily expanded upon with the expansion of data lakes when we open the creation of data lakes to third-party developers to build on the Parsik network.
Great. I think you may have covered this in the previous answers, but from Twitter user PandaLuku66, will there be any change to the utility of the PRQ token after the release of Tsunami API? And how will customers pay for the usage of the Tsunami API, crypto or fiat?
Currently, the model remains the same, which is access token. You either buy it to use service for free or you rent it, but it will change with the data lakes marketplace that we have planned. So there will be a much more sophisticated model that we believe has a lot of potential.
All right. Okay, we're going to transition now to talking about kind of the market in the future. So, from Twitter user Roma Fitos18, you often mention that bear markets are an opportunity for Parsik. Do you think PRQ has a bigger opportunity in the bear market than in a bull market?
Yes, I've covered this a few times in the Parsik community AMAs during the months of May and June, which were very, very bloody months for the market. So what I've seen, because Parsik was born in 18, so we've seen this is the second bear market we're going through, and we've seen a pretty big bull market in between. Why do I think Parsik and other fundamental building blocks will do well in the bear market? Because this is where the attention shifts to, because during euphoria you have all these narratives going on, a game of musical chairs, you have metaverse, NFT, dog coins, and so on and so forth, that people lose focus just chasing the next narrative. And when there's a bear market, all that hype and froth is gone, and everyone is looking for the fundamental companies, the fundamental plays which actually add value and help with building the adoption of these ecosystems. And the data and infrastructure are certainly the niches which are most popular during bear markets, and I know because I've seen this in 2 bear markets now.
All right, moving on here. Question from Twitter user OneCatPR. Congratulations, Parsik team, on launching Tsunami. As I understand, Tsunami is more of a developer-focused product. Will Parsik launch a product for normal crypto users?
So if you think about the Parsik network, it's like an ocean of data that we store and we always add to, and the Tsunami API is the access point. Then the data lakes are the lakes where the ocean water is flowing to, but specific ones. And so on top of the data lakes, we will build an application layer for let's say non-developers and non-businesses that will allow anyone to leverage the data that the data lakes have, but in an easier, frictionless manner. So this product is in the roadmap. It's called Parsik Atlas, and think of it as sort of an explorer, but not like Etherscan, where you have to manually go through transactions, but where you can choose a certain decentralized application, a certain DEX, an exchange, an NFT marketplace on the blockchain, anything, and see data which is specifically tailored and dedicated to that app, the latest transactions, the TVL. So you can manually go back or pull any of these past transactions that have been happening. How much liquidity has been added to Aave? How many liquidations were there on Maker, and so on and so forth. So this is an easy visual way for people to get in depth into DeFi, NFT, and all kinds of decentralized applications. This is coming. It's planned for next year.
Exciting. Everyone stay tuned for Atlas. Let's move on to a question now about the community. So this is from Twitter user Fadang19. The hackathon results made us very excited for public projects. Is there any timeline on when it will be released? Also, will the subscription model of public projects go through IQ protocol?
So what I mentioned, the expansion of the data lakes, the marketplace for the data lakes, where third-party developers can build custom data lakes on the Parsiq network, run and deploy and run them on the Parsiq network, is pretty much the new version of the public projects. And this is already being worked on. I think this is on the roadmap. It's closer to end of the year or the beginning of the next year. But we have a lot of hope for this offering, because when we offer the set of tools to build custom data lakes, then we will also do grant programs and a DAO for the community to be able to incentivize certain developers building these data lakes on the Parsiq network. And people can also monetize them. So they can make the access to their data lake not free, but premium. And they can ask for revenue for access to their own data lakes. And the Parsiq token will heavily figure into this model.
Exciting. Well, there's so much I'm sure you're looking forward to, but we do have this question from Twitter user Florent Gilhow. What's the next step for your project? You teased a lot of things today, but is there one kind of big milestone you're looking at ahead?
There really isn't one. It's a lot of moving parts. So now our focus is to expand both horizontally and vertically. So that means adding more blockchains that we support, building more data lakes on all these different chains, and then opening up access for developers outside of Parsiq to be able to build and run data lakes on the Parsiq network.
Expanding in all ways. All right. Well, we got through all of the AMA questions. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us and taking the time to answer. A big thank you to the Crypto.com and Parsiq community for sending in these great questions. Before we say goodbye, is there anything else you want to tell us about, Tom?
We just want to thank the community for tuning in and for sending all these questions. These were very, very relevant Parsiq-specific questions. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and give some information about what we're building here. So we have a lot more coming this year and the next. So please stay tuned.
That's right. You can stay tuned by following Tom on Twitter at TiermanTom. You can follow Parsiq at Parsiq_net. And as always, please make sure to follow Crypto.com to stay up to date with our latest news, our upcoming events, contests, and more. You can follow us at Crypto.com or Crypto.com on Twitter, and make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any future AMAs. Thanks again, Tom, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Marina.